tension surrounding Naomi tonight is honestly unbearable, and I mean that in the best possible soap opera way. Out of everyone attending this glamorous cotillion in tonight's episode of Beyond the Gates, Naomi is the one person who simply cannot relax, no matter how hard she tries to blend into the celebration. While everyone else is smiling, laughing, dancing, and admiring the elegance of the evening, Naomi looks emotionally disconnected from everything happening around her. And once we understand why, the entire episode suddenly takes on a much darker tone. Because, let's be honest here, Jacob's message completely shattered Naomi's peace of mind. The moment Jacob promised that he would come home and then added that everything ends tonight, I immediately felt nervous. That is not the kind of dialogue writers casually throw into a random scene. Soap operas always plant emotional warning signs before a major disaster happens, and this line felt gigantic. The second Naomi read that message, you could practically see the fear rising inside her. Even while surrounded by luxury and beauty, she cannot stop thinking about Jacob and the danger he may be walking into. And honestly, I think Naomi knows more than she realizes. One thing I absolutely love about this storyline is how psychological it feels. The writers are not simply telling us Naomi is worried, they are showing us the emotional consequences of loving someone whose life is constantly surrounded by danger. Every few minutes she glances at her phone. Every vibration makes her tense. Every moment of silence feels heavier and heavier. It is almost like she's waiting for the exact second her entire world changes forever. That anxiety becomes even more haunting when we remember Naomi's dream. Now listen, longtime soap fans already know dreams are rarely meaningless in shows like this. They are often warnings, symbols, foreshadowing devices, and I truly believe Naomi's nightmare about Jacob is not just random fear caused by stress. I think the writers are preparing us emotionally for something devastating. Maybe not necessarily Jacob's death, although I would not rule that out at this point, but definitely some kind of tragedy that changes everything moving forward. What makes the whole situation even more intense is the contrast between Naomi's emotional panic and the absolutely stunning atmosphere of the cotillion itself. Visually, tonight's episode feels elegant and almost magical. The gowns, the tuxedos, the music, the family pride, everything about the event screams celebration and tradition. But underneath all of that beauty, there's this dark feeling that something is about to go horribly wrong. And soap operas love doing this. Seriously, if you've watched daytime dramas long enough, you know the pattern. The writers give us beautiful family moments right before chaos erupts. Weddings become funerals. Celebrations become crime scenes. Romantic reunions become heartbreak. That emotional whiplash is exactly what makes soap storytelling addictive. That's why Anita's appearance tonight hit me so hard emotionally. Can we just take a second to appreciate how incredible Anita looked in that pink dress? Wow, absolutely stunning. After everything she has endured recently with chemotherapy and her health struggles, seeing her arrive looking radiant and confident honestly felt inspiring. This was not just about fashion. This was about reclaiming strength. I think Anita's scenes tonight are deeper than they initially appear. On the surface, it looks like a beautiful moment where a beloved legacy character is returning to normal life after illness. But emotionally, I think it represents something bigger. Anita is refusing to allow sickness to define her identity anymore. She wants to feel alive again. She wants to celebrate. She wants to be seen as strong rather than fragile. And that matters. Danny's reaction also felt incredibly realistic to me. You can tell Danny is terrified that Anita may be pushing herself too hard too soon. Honestly, I completely understood her concern. Watching someone you love recover from chemotherapy changes the way you see them forever. Even when they insist they're okay, part of you remains scared that one wrong step could cause another health crisis. But Anita reassuring everyone that she would avoid alcohol and spend more time sitting down was actually a really touching moment because it showed that she understands their fears while still demanding some independence back. That balance made the scene feel emotionally authentic. And let me say this, I genuinely think Anita's presence at this cotillion is symbolic. Soap writers often position strong maternal figures at major turning points in the story. Anita showing up glamorous and hopeful while danger secretly builds elsewhere almost feels like the calm before the storm. It reminds me of classic soap storytelling from years ago, where the family matriarch unknowingly enjoys one final peaceful evening before tragedy changes the family forever. Now, meanwhile, the men of the Dupree family are clearly having the time of their lives tonight, too. Vernon looks proud. Ted seems excited just to be included. Andre is moving around, capturing photos and memories like he instinctively understands how important this night is. And honestly, Andre's role tonight fascinated me. There's something almost bittersweet about him documenting everyone's happiness while the audience knows disaster may already be unfolding elsewhere. Those photos could end up becoming painful reminders later. Soap operas love using photographs symbolically after tragedy happens. I can already imagine characters staring at those same pictures later while grieving whatever catastrophe is coming. Now, let's talk about Ted for a second, because I know fans are divided about him. Some viewers still do not trust Ted at all. Others believe he is genuinely trying to reconnect with the family and become a better man. Personally, I think tonight was the first time I truly believed his emotions were sincere. His excitement about being invited into the celebration did not feel manipulative to me. It felt like someone desperate to belong again. But here's the problem with redemption. Arcs in soaps, they rarely stay uncomplicated. Every time a character starts rebuilding relationships, the writers usually introduce another secret, betrayal, or crisis that threatens everything. So while Ted may appear genuine tonight, I still feel like the story is setting him up for another emotional collision later. But even with all the elegance and family bonding happening at the cotillion, Naomi cannot emotionally participate because her mind remains trapped with Jacob. And honestly, I do not blame her at all. Jacob's entire situation tonight feels terrifying. The plasma storyline has been building tension for weeks, but now it finally feels like everything is exploding at once. The fact that the leader of the plasma operations suddenly changed the meeting location immediately tells me something has gone wrong behind the scenes. Criminal organizations only alter plans at the last minute when they suspect danger, betrayal, or surveillance. That alone would already make tonight dangerous. But then Grayson made the situation infinitely worse by revealing information about the plasma operation to Derek. Huge mistake. Honestly, I do not think Grayson fully understands the chain reaction he may have caused. Derek is not someone who simply ignores suspicious information. Once Derek hears about a secret operation connected to plasma, there's absolutely no way he stays uninvolved. Curiosity and impulsiveness are practically part of his DNA at this point. And this is where my biggest theory comes in. I think Derek is going to secretly follow Grayson. Seriously, think about it logically. Derek already senses something is off. He probably suspects Grayson knows more than he admitted. If Derek decides to investigate independently, he could accidentally walk straight into an incredibly dangerous situation without backup or preparation. And that could destroy everything. Because what happens if Derek witnesses the plasma exchange? What happens if the criminals notice him? What happens if Jacob realizes Derek is there too late? That's the scenario terrifying me right now, because Jacob's protective instincts could absolutely push him into making a reckless sacrifice. I can completely imagine Jacob throwing himself into danger to save Derek during a confrontation gone wrong. And honestly, the show has been quietly preparing us for that possibility. When Jacob told Naomi everything ends tonight, it sounded less like confidence and more like acceptance. Almost like he already understands he may not walk away safely. That line has been replaying in my head ever since I heard it because it carries such heavy emotional weight. And if Jacob does get hurt tonight, Naomi's emotional breakdown could become one of the strongest moments this show has delivered so far. Imagine how devastated she would feel if her nightmare actually came true. Imagine Naomi replaying every second of this evening in her mind, every unanswered text, every bad feeling, every instinct she tried to ignore. That guilt would consume her completely. And Honestly, I think that psychological fallout could become even more important than the actual shooting itself. Soap operas thrive on emotional consequences. A bullet wound heals eventually. Trauma doesn't. That's why I think Naomi's emotional arc is about to become much darker moving forward. If Jacob ends up critically injured while she spent the entire night sensing danger, Naomi may never forgive herself for not doing more to stop him. Now, while all of this tension is building, Samantha's storyline is also quietly becoming messy in the best soap opera way possible. We already know Samantha is going to feel hurt and humiliated because Danelle does not show up for the event. And honestly, I feel terrible for her. Moments like this matter deeply in soap relationships because public disappointment always cuts deeper than private arguments. But then comes Nathan, and wow, his timing feels suspiciously perfect. I do not think it is accidental at all that Nathan returns right when Samantha feels emotionally abandoned. Soap writers love emotional vulnerability setups like this. Samantha is hurt. She feels rejected. She feels embarrassed. And suddenly here comes someone offering comfort, attention, and emotional stability. That is classic rebound storytelling. The dangerous part is that Samantha may confuse emotional relief for genuine romantic feelings. It happens constantly in daytime dramas. Characters cling to whoever makes them feel safe during emotional chaos, only to realize later that the connection was built on pain rather than real compatibility. And let's be honest here, if Samantha starts leaning toward Nathan emotionally while Donnell is absent, the fallout later could become explosive. Especially if Donnell has legitimate reasons for missing the event. That's the thing about soaps. Timing destroys relationships more often than actual betrayal does. One missed night can change everything forever. Now, going back to Naomi, there is one more detail that keeps bothering me. The writers intentionally isolated her emotionally throughout this entire event. Even while surrounded by family and glamour, Naomi feels alone. That isolation matters narratively. Soap operas often emotionally separate characters right before life-changing moments occur. It creates vulnerability. And honestly, the way Naomi keeps staring at her phone almost reminds me of characters waiting for hospital updates after accidents in classic soaps. The emotional tone already feels tragic before anything has technically happened yet. That is brilliant writing. The suspense tonight is not built entirely on action. It is built on dread. We are watching characters celebrate while secretly feeling that disaster is approaching, and that emotional imbalance creates unbearable tension. Every smile feels temporary. Every dance feels fragile. Every happy moment feels like it could shatter instantly. And that is exactly why tonight's episode feels so powerful. Because beneath the gowns, the music, the champagne, and the glamorous family photos, there is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. A worried woman desperately waiting for a text. A dangerous operation spiraling out of control. A secret organization changing plans at the last second. A curious man getting too close to the truth. A protective hero potentially preparing to sacrifice himself. And a haunting dream that may not be a dream at all. I am telling you right now, this does not feel like a normal cliffhanger episode. This feels like the kind of turning point soap fans remember for years. The kind of episode where one gunshot changes multiple lives forever. And if the final scene ends with Naomi receiving a terrifying phone call while the music suddenly cuts out, yeah, I already know fans are going to lose their minds.